You could do the countdown, mate.
Matt, I didn't do the countdown. Good morning, everyone. My name's Gavin. This is Mitch. We just come on a little bit early. We're just going to give everyone a chance to log in. We're about 2 minutes early. So if you're on there, we're using a platform called StreamYard. If you could just send us a bit of a comment in LinkedIn or wherever you're watching, and then just let us know that you can see this, and maybe let us know who you are, and I guess what brought you to the webinar, really, just to give us some context to make sure we can hit some value drivers today. Yeah. How's your morning going, Mitch?
It's good. I'm a bit new to all the live streaming stuff. I've done some of it myself in the past before, but not as part of a webinar. So I'm getting situated here with the comments on the side. But yeah, I'm good. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what you have to present, Gavin.
Thanks, mate. We'll give it a couple of minutes and we'll come back. So yeah.
Sounds good. You can see we've got 3 viewers now. Excellent. Hello, everybody.
Yeah, if whoever that may be, if you just logged on, if you could just let us know that you can hear us okay, what brought you to this today, if there's anything specific that you're interested in, we'll make sure we try to cover that off.
Yeah. The comments come through straight away, actually, so perfect.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. We'll give it a minute.
Yep. Yeah, we got some more people coming through now.
All right. Yep. Poor spelling there.
That's okay.
Okay, well, we might just kick off slowly here before we give everyone a chance to catch up. Good morning, everyone. My name's Gavin Ty. I'm one of the co-founders of Six Sides. We're an events platform that helps build stronger connection through events, and then in turn build stronger community as a result. This is my co-founder, Mitchell. G'day, mate.
Hey, mate.
Yep.
Made a few words.
Yeah.
Sure.
Yep.
I'm the CTO. I lead all of our technology, building mobile apps, and all of our back-end infrastructure, all that sort of stuff. So that's kind of under my purview. And yeah, just really excited to be on today, mate.
Awesome. Thanks. So today, what we're going to do is we're going to run through this webinar we put together for you. At the crux of it, what we're trying to do with our business is encourage attendee interaction with each other. We're living in although we're more connected through social media, there's a loneliness epidemic that well documented in many instances. And I've attended many conferences in the past, and although I've wanted to connect with people personally, I've also been hesitant to do that, like for many reasons, being shy, being apprehensive. And what we're trying to do as a root cause as a fundamental level, is change that, encourage people to interact more. And our theory is it's going to actually make an event stronger. So we might kick off. So if anyone has any questions throughout, there is a bit of a lag between entering a comment on LinkedIn and it coming up to what we're using on the platform. So please ask as many questions as you like throughout the event, and we will endeavor to answer them when we see them. And then Mitch is monitoring that as well. So we might kick off if that's okay. And again, if anyone's just joining us, let us know where you're from. If you have anything specific you want us to address, or what interests you in events and encouraging people to interact, that'd be great to hear from you as well. All right, so the goal of the webinar today is what we want to do is understand we'll get alignment on the fundamental facts every event is built on. To do this, we just want to make sure we're looking at the same reasons. So then we can actually talk about first principle ways to improve things. And then we want to talk about the different sides of an event community. There is a very specific reason we called our business Six Sides. And then we want to talk about how each side of an event community sees value differently. So once we understand that, then we can start encouraging interaction in a very specific way for very specific sides to make sure we add the most amount of value for that particular audience. And then we want to talk about how to use gamification to add unique value, add value at each side of that as well. And then from that, the outcome of that is to hopefully grow community by not following the status quo. And we've got a couple of case studies at the end to show you that also. Right. So when we first started Six Sides, we sat down and had a look. We made a really, we had to sit down and make a decision. Event management or event platform or event tech is a largely crowded market, right? There are so many platforms around that help manage events. We really wanted to sit down and say, if we're going to do this, what's our key point of differentiation? And so it started with understanding what the facts. I have a long history of being at events, mainly as a sponsor, working stands through a few companies that I've worked at. And so these are the facts that we've come up with. And if you have anything to add to this, please let us know. Or if you dispute anything, we would love to hear that also. But for every event, every association or an event organizer is purpose driven with the event that they are organizing. And every event aims to add value to its community. Maybe it's community growth. Maybe it's to finding volunteers. Maybe it's a business development initiative. Maybe it's just to grow a community, or maybe it's to bring awareness, but it aims to add value, right? And so there's a return on investment that every event is sought. It may not be monetary. It could be something else. But there is a return on investment sought, right? But each side of an event community sees value differently. From an attendee, they have a different set of requirements or wants out of attending an event than a sponsor does, than a speaker does. And then a strong community is based on stronger connections with each other. And that's in our personal lives and everywhere. The stronger relationships that we can form, the stronger the community will be, right? Now, the greater awareness brought to an organization's purpose or an event's purpose, the more likely it is to achieve its goals, right? And I fundamentally believe people want to connect, but they hesitate for many reasons. But if we can help people connect more and raise more awareness, the stronger a community becomes and the higher the chance of ROI and purpose being achieved. That's our underlying mission to help people who run events do. And I'm sure it's the underlying mission for event organizers, to achieve as well. Now, why is it currently hard to maximize value? Is not all sides of an event community, they're not always considered or met, right? Events haven't found an effective way to help people systematically connect and interact, not only in the event, but post-event. It's because most ROI and value comes after an event. And this is hard to track, particularly someone comes in for a 2-day event and then closes out a platform and then doesn't come back, right? Now, there isn't a single source of truth for capturing media to build awareness and community later. We see so many people taking photos on their phones at an event, and I'm sure people want to be able to grab that and use that in marketing content, but they just don't have the ability to access it.
And it's just wasted, right? Like those photos, if the event organizers can't get access to them, then yeah, they're sitting on people's phones and you can't get them, right? So.
Yeah, correct. I did the Vinny CEO sleep out last year and on the Gold Coast, and so many people were having a great time and taking photos, yet it was just stuck on people's phones, right? It wasn't able to be used or brought awareness to later. So and I think that's one of the biggest challenges with doing it with using technology and without a huge amount of admin effort. Now, there you go. And too much effort is required to build a bit awareness, and it's not easy to connect after an event. So we see events in breaking down into most fundamental first principle strategies is made up of different sides. So a basic meetup could be two sides, an organizer and attendees. So we're running a group up here in Brisbane called the Founders Collective. The Founders Collective is us, the organizers, and running basically a connection meetup or an inspirational meetup with other attendees. Now, we're actually running one on Thursday, tomorrow, which is three sides. It has an organizer, us, the organizer, attendees, and a speaker. But as you go up the complexity of an event, you're just adding more sides into the conference. But fundamentally, people's needs are the same, or the value is the same. It may slightly change from one to another, but by thinking about that and then getting them to connect and interact, it's a way to add more value and get them to delight them in many different levels and get them at the end of the day to go, hey, I would love to go back to that. All right. Now, how different sides interact changes, right? Each side of an event community interacts with each other for different reasons, right? It's by breaking these down to the fundamental level, organizers can add unique value from a two-sided meetup to a six-sided complex event. These interactions really shape the energy flow and outcomes of an entire event experience. So it doesn't make sense to get people to interact for the sake of interaction's sake, right? We need them to do it in a specific way so they see value, and we're adding, they're getting their return on investment for whatever reason they come to events that are being held, right? When you understand the intent behind each interaction, you can design moments that feel meaningful rather than accidental. And stronger interactions don't just improve the event, they actually strengthen the long-term community that sits behind it, right? Now, I'm not going to go through all these. Basically what this is, it shows all the different ways an event organizer might interact with an attendee, a speaker, a sponsor, an association, or staff and volunteers. And basically it goes through all the different ways of each of the side of the marketplace or an event community interacts. So the reason we call it six sides is because there are six sides to a complex event. There's the event organizer, potentially an association who may be getting the event organizer to run the event. Then you got speakers, sponsors, attendees, and you got volunteers as well. So what I wanted to focus on though specifically is attendees, right? Now, most people understand that attendees may ask questions from the event organizer. They may be looking at schedules or updates or providing feedback on an event. But what they may not necessarily be able to address is attendees also want to go not only to learn, but to network. And they want to be able to chat socially. They want to be able to exchange details with people to be able to catch up post-event. And maybe they want to support the association or the cause. Like if I talk about the CEO Sleep Out the other day, a few months ago, people were there to not only interact with others, but also to support the homeless community and donate money for that, raise awareness, right? But there's a real fundamental challenge here in some of this is people are often hesitant. Since COVID, it's gotten worse. People aren't interacting as much as what they were before then. And so networking and chatting can be a real challenge when people are shy and then they always leave an event regretful, right? Or not always, but most times they can leave an event regretful. Now, they also...
and just that you always wish you took more photos with people, or, that you interacted more than what you did, right?
Yeah, I 100% agree. It's I've always often left events having regret that I wish I had gone up and said something to someone, right?
Yeah.
And then you can't get that time back. It's the same with speakers. An attendee may interact with speakers only through using a microphone. Now, if they're shy, they won't get to ask that question. or they won't get to interact because maybe there's just not enough time. The same with visiting sponsors, right? There's all these different reasons that an attendee might interact with different parts of that community. But if you can get in between that and encourage that, then it makes the event richer for everybody. Right. So this is how we have figured out how to encourage attendee interaction. So everything must begin at the fundamental level with an in-person connection. Once a conversation starts, the potential for great things to happen is possible. Without the conversation or the introduction, nothing is possible, right? But we are habitual creatures. Most people default to sticking to who they know or what they know, and we need to actively break those habits. So, and I'll share an example at the end with the Founders Collective first meeting about how we plan the lessons we've learned to actually break that habitual, the habits people are used to, right? What we're doing is using gamification. We encourage you to use gamification as well, right? And it is used to lower the social barriers and give people a clear reason to approach one another. So you can see here on the right-hand side, these are all photos of people using the game, getting points to try to win a prize. But the unintended consequence of that is they are able to talk to each other and start having a conversation, right? Under the guise of playing a game, right? So you gamify the behavior that you want to encourage. So in this game Tag Your It that we set up in our platform, we actually give certain amount of points for, hey, we give you 10 points or 50 points for taking a photo of a speaker. We give you 50 points for going to a sponsor and taking a photo. We give you 100 points for going to interact with the conference organizers. But we're gamifying those actions that we want them to take, right? So you want to trigger their competitive advantage, and it's by turning introductions into a simple and fun challenge. We want to replace those awkward moments with purposeful interactions that feel natural rather than forced, right? It's I'll talk about the unintended consequence about that in a second. We want to give attendees a shared objective, so even strangers feel like they're on the same team, right? If someone benefits from someone else taking a photo from them, then they both win, and it actually builds a stronger event community. You want to build awareness from connection, right? As an event organizer, whether it's a two-sided event, maybe I've spoken to one of you yesterday is going to run meetups over in the US to try to build the community together, right? There are multiple reasons and multiple bits of value that an event organizer might get or an attendee might get. But if you can get in the middle of that and create a single source of truth for building or capturing those interactions, you'll be able to capture the real moments of connection. And these images become the most powerful proof your event is working. So on the right-hand side, you'll see this is a game being run at Laracon AU, which is a developer conference, and also at Volunteering WA as well. So Amber on the bottom right-hand side, she actually won the game for Tag Your It, and she managed to get around and see so many people she wouldn't have normally interacted with under the guise of gamification, and it actually gave her, I think she worked for Horizon Power. She was able to capture those moments, print that out, and then build awareness for Horizon Power supporting the volunteer community. And vice versa, the team up at Laracon, they were playing the game. You can see everyone here is connecting, and they're sharing that throughout their network on their socials, whatever they're on, Blue Sky, Twitter, LinkedIn, and things like that. So we're using attendee interactions here as content and photos and highlights and videos to show the community in action. So we want to also build awareness and make people want to be part of it as well. That's what we want people to interact and be able to help event organizers achieve.
And it's like a bit of FOMO as well, right? For the next year, to try and get people interested in your community and want them to feel like, oh man, I missed out. This looks fantastic, try and come next year.
We want people to feel part. Hey, you want people to feel part of the community. And we're like with the Founders Collective, we're running a meetup for founders or business owners, and we want people to see that, hey, it's actually It's got a great vibe and a good culture. So we want them to be able to come back or bring others into it, right?
Yeah.
And see that they'll be able to genuinely interact with people. Right. We want to encourage these moments to be shared across socials to for whatever reason, if you're watching this because you're running events, we want to be able to help others share that on their behalf, because it's kind of a referral into to the events that you're running. Maybe you're a business and it's a business development activity. You want to show that you're at a conference and you're also creating marketing content for your team to get an indirect return on investment. Maybe you're an attendee and you want to show people that you've met some great people, but you want to encourage people to share it who come to your event, right? You want to turn the event into a marketing engine, which is what basically what we just spoke about. People trust what they see, right? Showing genuine connection sells your next event better than any ad ever could, right? Maybe you're running a larger event or a series of smaller events. If you can somehow connect these, so we're not starting from a standing start each time, it actually helps build momentum. And over time, our hypothesis is community will grow and strengthen over time because they know that they can come back and see the people they've seen before. All right. Most value comes after an event. I've spent upwards of $30,000 or $40,000 on a booth at a conference at a place called Gartner many years ago. There's just no way to recoup that ROI or that cost in a 3 or 4 day conference. Most value comes after an event. So with event organizers, the value may come afterwards if they gain insight from attendee behavior and connections, and they can turn post-event photos and stories into marketing. Maybe they can look at the analytics and go, oh, look at those questions asked in the event. That's a good way to take the conference next year. There seems to be a lot of interest in that, those topics, right? Maybe they've grown a stronger community and they're able to they have a lower attrition rate or a higher return rate of conference attendees next year or sponsors by adding unique value to each side, right? Attendees may follow up with connections if they go there to not only learn but make connections with people. Then they'll be able to follow them up after the event, right? They want to be able to turn quick chats into collaborations, opportunities, and potential long-term relationships for whatever that may be. It could be for friendships, it could be for business, it could be for other things, right? Speakers want to extend their impact by continuing conversations. They want to grow their reputation as well. They may want to share their resources, and sometimes they want to convert that interest into clients or invitations into other speaking events, right? But we have to be able to facilitate that by getting people to interact with them in a way that helps them do that, whatever their purpose is or whatever their why is for doing the event, right? Sponsors, they want to nurture their leads they collected during the event. They also want to be able to turn those interactions or follow up qualified opportunities and develop over a reasonable timeline, a measurable ROI, right? Or be able to create the right marketing content and build their awareness in an industry, perhaps. And associations, right? They want to convert the momentum into new members and supporters by using event images, right, and stories and outcomes to market future programs. Maybe they're doing a larger conference and they do smaller conferences like AI conferences and things like that. But they can do that by building broader awareness at a far lower cost through automation instead of higher admin effort, by getting their audience and attendees to share their content on their branded content on their behalf. And it just completely reduces the admin burden on an association to do that. In most cases today, it's just not happening because they can't afford it, right? And volunteers go to conferences or staff. They go to help, right? They want to go to either maybe build confidence, maybe they want to deepen their commitment to the mission. I know St. Vincent de Paul has a lot of ambassadors that go and volunteer their time, right? But sometimes people want to often step into larger roles or they want to return for future events, but they also want to get unique value. Maybe they want to share that to the world. right? Now, this is a case study. So this is a case study we ran recently for Volunteering WA, right? So at the conference, there was 232 attendees in the app. 46 people were enrolled in the game called Tag Your It, and 53 were non-enrolled attendees that added photos to their specific gallery, right? So there's about 43% of attendees were involved in the photos on the platform, right? So over the course of the 2-day event, 62 questions were asked across all streams. They had 3 streams going on, and that was an average of 3 questions per talk. Now, we must say at the beginning of this, we didn't set up the event really well. We didn't actually prescribe to the MC about exactly what to do. And that was a massive learning that we took from this event. So basically, there were 113 votes on questions and 692 gallery photos. So you can see over there on the right-hand side, these are photos that are in the gallery of people taking selfies that now Volunteering WA will be able to use to create bespoke collage images or bespoke videos to continually build awareness, or to get continual marketing content to say, hey, this is a great conference. Hope you can come to our next one, right? 64 photos and video recaps were produced, so that 64 people were downloading content and producing that out into their socials. And 148 ratings were given of talks, of which 68% were 5-star ratings, right? So out of that, Volunteering WA will go back in and have a look at those talks and go, okay, well, maybe we weren't quite right on those talks. Maybe we can iterate to something later by looking at those questions that were asked, and maybe they can develop themes about their next conference going forward. All right. So this is from Holly, their team, is one of the strongest and most consistent messages we're getting is from the conference is compared to others is how much fun it was. There was so much connection. It was fun, friendly, and people weren't afraid to chat to each other. So that's an interesting byproduct of what happens when you gamify connection. People often forget that they're playing a game, or even when the game ends, what they do is they forget, and that barrier or that apprehension goes away because we've kind of trained them over a couple of days, or they've flexed that muscle that it goes away. And for at least for that couple of days. So what we did with Volunteering WA, we sat down and we took a pretty significant lessons learned. And we sat down and went, how can we affect behavior change or get people using the app from day one, from moment one? And also Laracon, this is their 2nd year of using Six Sides. So very similar attendees in the app and this latest conference that we had. 155 people were enrolled in TAG. Now, the main difference from that is in the opening speech by the MC, Michael, which is the event organizer, he actually devoted 5 minutes for people who had the app to enroll in the game. And then he asked them to take a photo to meet with the person on the left and their right and actually introduce themselves, and then upload those photos, or they automatically upload into Six Sides. But he quickly got far more adoption quickly because we changed the habit from the very first moment, right? We were intentional about creating a different interaction between attendees, whether they were attendees or speakers and sponsors. We were very deliberate about trying to break the habit instead of hoping that they would do that. So 33 people were not enrolled. So that was a massive increase. To 83% of people who were at the conference were involved in uploading photos into their platform. So this is one of the biggest lessons learned. Is what we also did is we went in and showed people how to ask questions in a talk. So you think about old practice where people will go around at the end of a conference and say, hey, do you have any questions? And they may come to me and I would stand up and ask a question. That's going to limit 70% of people because they might be too shy to stand up in front of a crowd. Maybe they don't want to know the answer enough to overcome that shyness. So what we've encouraged them to do is interact with the speaker in a different way. So they can then go into the speaker's talk and they can ask a question. So this actually worked a little too well that over the course of the 2 days, 302 questions were asked at an average of 13 questions per talk. It was just way too many questions to get through in a session. Now, this actually brings up a really interesting dynamic when it comes to having a conference, is most conferences have set speakers from all the way from the first speaker all the way to the end of the day. This potentially allows a restructure of having maybe 3/4 of the day with speakers, and then at the final quarter, maybe they can regroup and ask these questions or answer these questions, and it could be more specifically tailored to the audience. Or you can go slightly longer on the talk. Maybe they can speak for 30 minutes and have a 20-minute Q&A because there's enough questions here to ask in the app to keep them going. And it's more on-demand interaction with the speaker opposed to predetermined content. It's a really interesting dynamic. Now, of that, 1,246 of those, there were upvotes on those questions. So it was a massive interaction on that part of the app, and speakers got far more content. Out of that, we're going to add far more functionality where people can add threads and things like that. Yes, mate.
Yeah, it's just, I think the fact that people can go in and vote on other people's questions as well will mean that questions that are most relevant to the audience will rise to the top, right? So if you've got someone walking around with a microphone and asking questions, they might be questions that a lot of the audience isn't that interested in, but this is a way, it's almost like democratic, people can go in, the more popular questions will rise to the top, and then typically that's what would get read out and asked of the speaker at the end of their talk. So that's something that we've seen is really powerful. And also the fact that you kind of vetting questions in a way with writing them in to the app, and then people can go in and upvote. If you've got some people in your audience that maybe on the microphone might have asked a question that you wish they hadn't, you've got a way to kind of filter that through via the app as well. That's another, like, a superpower of being able to do this and vote on them.
I agree. And that was an unintended consequence. We didn't expect it to be that high within the Laracon community. But again, this is the second year of running the conference, and they were educated on how to use the app last year, and we just helped change their app habits and interact with the app way sooner than what they thought. This is the first time in my life that an alarm has gone off, a car alarm has gone off while I'm on a webinar. So apologies for that. Right. And so of this, one of the biggest wins here, one of the biggest wins for the Laracon community, other organisers, were there was 1,626 photos taken over the course of the 2 days. This isn't the professional photos. They haven't been uploaded in here yet, but these are photos that anyone can go in and create recap videos and images and share this with the Laracon community or their socials. So all this week, this conference was Thursday, Friday last week. All this week, we're starting to see these Laracon images popping up out into the onto socials, and the Laracon team don't have to do that, but it's branded and it's bringing attention to Laracon AU and hopefully bring the community closer together over the course of the next 12 months. Now, subsequently, what we're helping the Laracon team, or Laravel, which is the language here, is we're helping them with meetups, be able to run subsequent meetups, but under the all connected as part of the community through Laracon. So out of this, and this is just to show you, 285 photos and recaps were reproduced or created from the event, and that it just completely removes the burden from the Laracon team to do that, which would be impossible. Right now, this is an interesting metric. 5,260 unique connections were made between attendees. So that was, in every photo, a unique. If it was me and Mitch, that would count as one connection. But if we would come up in another one, it wouldn't count. But it showed that on average, there was 20 connections per individual who went to the conference, right? So our goal of making people connect and interact is proven in this case, right? And of this talk, 353 ratings were given over the course of the 2 days, and with 91% being at 5 stars, which is a great metric for the event organizers to know that they're on track to saying, hey, yeah, we've got the voice of the people. We know what we're, our attendees, we know what we need to do, and we'll double down on that next year. Right. Now, this is a testimonial from Rasmus. He said, an unexpected benefit of the Tag Your It game was after a while, people weren't shy anymore and just started speaking to strangers. As you can imagine, this is quite rare for a developer conference, right? And, you know, without picking on Mitch and his community, they are, you know, relatively introverted and they don't connect as well as what maybe some other industries. And it's a great result for them.
Completely agree. Yeah.
Hence
no insult taken.
Hence why you've been on mute for most of the webinar.
Well, yeah, that too. But you're doing such a good job. I didn't want to get in your way, mate.
So the key takeaways we've had for event organizers is gamification, gamifying connection to remove the apprehension of attendees, and use it to spark real conversation, however you can do that. Build community by designing moments where attendees add unique value to each other. Use technology intentionally, not as a distraction, but as a bridge to real human connection, right? Use technology to help them connect and then get off their devices, right? And then capture those authentic moments, so those interactions, and repurpose them as high trust marketing material for future events. So you can help grow and strengthen your community over time, right? And break old patterns by guiding attendees away from their usual groups and towards new relationships. So an example of that is when we ran our first Founders Collective event a couple of months ago, we were using, we got everyone to go there, and there was a far more people than we anticipated. We thought we'd get 10 people. We ended up with now 70 or 80 people there. We weren't prescriptive in getting them to interact with each other in a different way. And what I observed was people would just go back into their groups. Although it was a large event and they were having fun, they weren't meeting new people, and people wanted to essentially go there to interact and build new connections, but habits formed. And after a while, if we don't make those new connections quickly or change those behaviors fast, we just settle back into old patterns. And so that's what I recommend, is break those old patterns deliberately and reward that through gamification. Right, and treat every event as part of a long-term community engine, not just a one-day experience. Right, so I guess that's all we wanted to show today. If you're running events and you want to encourage your attendee interaction or different interaction from the different sides of whatever type of event you have, from a meetup to a multi-sided event, we'd love to help you create a fun and connected event where people meet easily, engage deeply, and leave feeling part of something bigger, right? If you'd like to explore that, you can book in a call. That's down there. There's a PDF as well. We can give you the takeaway, and you can just message us as well, Mitch or myself. And if you have any questions, let us know. So if anyone has any questions, it's going to take a couple of minutes a couple of seconds to come through, but please let us know. Otherwise, we'll call. That's really the end of the session today. Yeah.
Mate, so people can go to sixsides.co while we're waiting for any questions, if there are any. So sixsides.co, and you can book in a call there, but we'll try and get a link into the webinar.
Yep.
Yeah, perfect.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Well, thank you, everyone. We really appreciate you logging in today. I can see a few people online watching and on different forms. So thank you very much. And we will speak to you again soon. And if you have any questions, please reach out.
Awesome. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.